order to do these things, I need to be a manager. I cannot be like an IC and then like...
The term is leading without authority.
Yeah.
It only takes you so far.
Right.
And at the same time, I want people to realize this. Do not give yourself away for free. A lot of the times when you're leading with authority, you're giving yourself away for free. And when people get comfortable and used to it, they have no incentive to promoting you or making you a manager. So don't fall in that trap where you're giving yourself away for free.
So moving on to my kind of like next hurdle as a DBA, a mid-level DBA, a junior and mid-level DBA.
Sure.
So now I'm learning the skills, I'm reaching out to my network, I'm building a network actually. And then I think in that process, you also kind of think about what you like and what, So here actually I kind of took him in a different direction where basically I was trying to figure out how to like transition to a leadership role, right? Like that, the questions that I asked was about his experience actually, right? And then I was able to pull out a few things actually. So some of these things are like common sense actually, but we don't do it.
Common sense is uncommon.
Right? So we don't do it, like just telling someone that like I need to be a manager to create this impact and things like that.
Yeah.
But like, at least one thing I learned is when I hear a no, I don't want to shut down actually. I want to ask you questions, When I hear a no, I'm like, okay, so you don't want to promote me? Can you tell me why? Like, give me some input actually, like, tell me why, like I want to like figure out like what are the conditions, like what are the requirements actually I want to like learn. It doesn't have to be like a nasty conversation, but sometimes it's the inputs are like, okay, we need to create a wide impact or whatever. So, but then that's where actually you want to follow his advice. You want to stick to the structure, which is win-win, right? Because he knows what works actually, right? In my case, it's always been about just adding a lot of value actually. Like that's what I use.
Let me give you and also the audience a precise way to demystify it.
Right.
It's called the PIE methodology, P-I-E. Performance, image, exposure. So a lot of people focus only on P, which is performance. What courses to take next, how do I make this impact, things like that. You might be a 3.5, maybe in a 4, and you're striving to be 5 out of 5 for the performance. And I see that's the biggest mistake people make. They do not focus on I, which is image. You definitely, all of you have come across people who are so smart, so brilliant, but just painful to work with. Their P might be extremely high, a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5, but their image, a 0. In order to get promoted, my magic number for P is 3.5. Start working on your image. How are you, not necessarily a social butterfly and going and talking to people, no. How do you get stuff done? Okay. Focus more on that, closing those loose ends, and your image, once it gets to a 3.5 or better yet a 4, automatically exposure kicks in. Guaranteed. Have you seen people who are like, how did that person get to go and present in that executive staff meeting? He's not that knowledgeable or he hasn't produced a whole lot. It's because their performance is a 3 or 3.5, but their image might be a 3.5 or even better yet a 4. If I were to trace back my career, I've had people way more smarter than me, technically ahead and spent more years, battle scars. My image was always a 5 out of 5. My performance was not necessarily a 1, it was at a minimum 3.5, but that is why I got the exposure. So what would happen is, let me take Samsung for example. We were in Berlin for an IoT conference, worldwide conference, and we were at the booth and customers were coming in and out. People come and talk, but there are those backdoor conference rooms where the real deals get done. We're talking about double, triple digit $1 million deals get done. So I get called again by the salespeople. They're like, we need this data right now. Can you say for sure, can we close on this or not? The reason why you get that exposure is because people know that they can trust me. Right? Maybe I'm throwing the beer bash every Friday. Maybe I'm good friends with the HR folks. None of this is manipulation because it takes a lot of time and effort to do that and my day job, which is being technically sound on top of all the customer requests and cases. So I'm very selective about where and how I spend my time. Right? I am investing in my physical fitness, in my mental fitness, in my technical fitness, in my social fitness. I cannot have them all stellar all the time, but I'm putting in time and energy, keeping different buckets at a minimum effective dose level. I spoke a lot. Thoughts, comments, or questions?
No, you're giving us all these frameworks like win-win, pie, and all these things. It's just different ways to look at your situation. Up to me, like it's just like go try it out, like
Fundamentally,
just like create a plan. Like this time I'm gonna do this actually and see how it goes. Maybe after 3 months, if it's not working, try something else actually.
You're right, 100% right.
So that's basically what I take away from that. Right. So let me actually talk about this thing, which actually, I actually went through this experience of going from being a DBA to like a DevOps guy and now like a software engineer, right? Along that journey, in that experience actually, I was actually, I was very anxious and nervous, but I kept on doing these things actually, because I don't know, like in a room full of smart people, like, who are, much way ahead actually, like let's say like they're like, architects and principal architects and so on. Me coming in with this different experience actually, it's good actually I have that expertise to be able to function in those kind of rooms actually. It was hard for me, and then slowly I learned my strategies, which I'll mention later. But then I want to hear from you, like how like people they're going to go through this transformation, because they're going to pick a new direction based on the networking, based on the skills that they're learning, pick a new direction, and they're going to go, like they're going to go look for jobs, or like either in the same company or outside. And in that process, it's not going to be that's not going to be easy actually, especially the first couple of years. So what is your kind of like guidance or like recommendation on that actually?
So the first thing is congratulations on doing what is hard. And the fact of the matter is, it's hard for everyone. So don't feel that it's only hard for you and it's easy for someone else. Absolutely not. The only difference is people like Bharat have done and tried way more times than anyone else, and that's what it takes. Don't be afraid to do the hard thing. That's number one. So going back to your question, like how do people actually go ahead and do that? To your point, you're saying the same thing again and again, which is what people need to remember. Go ahead and do something. See what works and see what doesn't work. But now what's more important is document it. Document it. And maybe the only other thing that is equally important is sometimes you go 99% of the way, it doesn't work. Don't give up. Don't give up. And it's so easy and it might sound enigmatic what we're saying, but it's literally that. Take anybody, any sport, and I think you and I we've had friendly conversations, talked about Kobe Bryant and other people, but it's so true. The people who actually succeed are not the most talented, right? In that room of very smart people, actually you're really putting yourself, you're not giving yourself the credit that you deserve. I value what you bring to the table much more than even talent, which is always true in business, and even at the end of the day, all these technical companies are a business. Meaning, in order to get stuff done, you need someone with grit. You need someone who will not give up and will try to keep figuring it out. You personified the best case scenario where you did not care about what other people thought, even if they were smarter than you in the room. You did what you had to do, period. You did not care about people around you. And I think the more and more, if you adopt that mindset, that you don't care about what people think about you and you do it regardless, that is something that you can unlock. And I'll tell you why. You can only control things that are in your control, and not which is not in your control. Right? These are all philosophies that we talk about, and my clients, once we focus on these things, I see there's a client of mine, she works at Meta. 6 months in, she's being beaten by her manager, tech lead, and what have you. However, in a matter of 2 weeks, 2 sessions, we focus on what's in her control, her deliverables, speaking up to what she knows is right or wrong, not worried about if they like to hear it or not. That started changing how they started respecting her. Then they were even open to seeing that she was actually saying the right things, like how you run the AI ML code and whatnot. It makes a huge difference, because what's happening is you're creating an environment where you're increasing the chances of you succeeding. So we talk about ROI and all of that. You create an environment that increases your chance to succeed with the tools that I said, and there are many more tools that I teach my clients. But it's about creating that successful environment and then putting the effort.
And all these frameworks are in your book.
All these frameworks are in the book. In fact, we might have a way that we deal with conflict. There's an entire book on conflict. So I took that framework, I made it more simpler, but you can get your conflict score. Knowing what your conflict score is, how you deal with conflict, allows you now to have the right tools, because there are so many tools out there. It allows you to use the right tools in order to deal with conflict as comfortably as you can. Not as best as possible, but the best way you personally can. It has to be a custom size fit, not a one size fits all. But all of that is captured in the book. How do you go about figuring out what is custom for you? I like to think about this book as, you know, how kids have like coloring workbooks and whatnot, but this is for the corporate adult. It has a lot of exercises. There are 5 chapters, 3 subsections, so 15 subsections. Each has at least 1 workshop, and in some cases multiple. So there are 15 to 20 workshops in here that you can actually do and figure out what is custom for you and how do you navigate.
Makes sense. Actually, I just want to summarize what he said. I want to just add one little thing actually to start with. Like many people I speak to, like they come with like a closed sort of mindset. They say like, oh, I've been a DBA, I cannot program to save my life actually. So that's like some kind of like built up belief actually, you know. Either they had like a bad teacher in their college days or whatever, I don't know. Or basically, you know, some experience that kind of like left them feeling like they are not able, they think they cannot do something actually, right? So I want people to be kind of like open-minded. Actually, I'm not like the best, you know, I was a DBA for 12 years before I started programming actually. Like you know, and also if you think about it, you know, you might have done that in a different way in your experience actually. Like for example, DBAs, like they do a lot of shell scripting, which is programming. It's not object-oriented programming, but it's programming actually, right? So you want to kind of like be, you know, keep this open mind actually when you approach a new career, right? And then when he said document, actually I resonated with that a lot, because that's what actually helped me a lot in this process.
It does,
right? When you say document, it's not just about documenting the solution.
No.
It's about documenting the problems. Like let's say like you don't understand something, document that. What do you not understand actually? Like,
or not to make a light bulb. The cliche Edison thing, right? 1,000 ways how not to invent a light bulb.
Right. Document like, you know, for me, what I did was I started actually like, let's say I get stuck somewhere. Like, you know, I'm feeling like this anxiety because I have to, like they've given me some work and I have to do it. No, never done that, no experience whatsoever. So then I start with something very simple, like, okay, so now this is, of course, let's say this is Terraform work. Okay, then, and first I just define the problem, the scope actually of the thing. Okay, let's say I just need to automate this thing. Like, is this what they want? Like, that's the first thing I document. I'm not worried about the solution. I don't care at this point. First, I want to, first of all, know for myself, tell myself that I understand the problem. Like, what am I dealing with actually, right? Define the problem. and then take it to your colleagues. Then just like have a small meeting, or like reach out one-on-one and take it to the colleagues actually. Like you say, okay, this is what I don't know like how to do. Like, you know, this is basically where I'm stuck. Just show them the problem. Clearly defining the problem and asking for help is like way more effective than just going and like, you know, just blurting out all. When you have a clearly defined problem, it's easy to attack it actually. So
yeah, I'll give you there are two things I want to cover. That's an example, but more importantly, let me give you the documentation part about where people should start, what they need to do technically, business wise, marketing, self-improvement, all of that. Have you heard of SWOT analysis?
Yeah.
So let's give them the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. The reason why I really love that is the first attempt you go ahead and start documenting what are your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, and then take this to a good friend, someone like Bharat, or can you bring it to me? You're going to be surprised that we will see it in a different light, where what you think as a weakness, you may be like, hey, it's actually your strength, right? Or if you think that something's a threat, no, buddy, it's not a threat, it's actually an opportunity for you to do something. So going back to how do you ask, that journaling and writing down the SWOT analysis and sharing it with people you trust is a very important thing to do. I wish I had done that in my younger times when I was in my career, That is one very important thing to do. Any thoughts or comments on SWOT?
No, I just go with like stream of consciousness writing, just like brain dump. You know, just open a doc.
Great.
Just like it doesn't have to be grammatically correct. It doesn't have to be like you know, you can just make spelling mistakes there. So just like, but I just like whatever is on my mind, I just like, you know, bring it out onto like a document or a paper actually, right? And then in that, now it's clear kind of like, you know, where my brain is, and I extract actually from that. I kind of, you can call it editing.
It is.
And then I just extract the problem from that actually,
right?
And then into like another piece of paper or just below, like, you know.
But tell me, how did you figure out to do this? That is one.
Because when I'm actually like sitting and dealing with a problem, I just don't know what the problem is. First of all, actually, to even I don't know. So how do I actually figure out? That's like, you know, you call it journaling. I like journaling a lot. But like, you know, a job doesn't have to be like, you know, this person, he's an expert and he give him a task and he'll just do it and then go. It doesn't have to be like that anymore actually. You know, the innovation has happened like, you know, like at this rapid pace actually. Right. So now everyone's dealing with the same problems actually, but it's just that people who speak up, they're like, you know, I actually appreciate them a lot. Like when someone says I don't understand what's going on here, that's more valuable than someone just like who sounds smart actually.
You're 100% right. I love it. I have the same feeling as you do, right?
Isn't it? Like, you know, in a meeting, all of a sudden you brought in, and then like now people are like going at like 4x speed, and now somebody says, okay, can you please give me some basic context? Like what is the goal of this meeting? Right. What's like, why are we? Like, can we like, you know, talk about the direction? Like I know like now you don't have an answer. Let's just talk about the direction of, you know, okay. It seems like what you're saying is we just have to keep doing the same thing actually. Okay, all right, okay, I get it actually. So those kinds of things. Like, and then like when you talk about stream of consciousness, I pulled that from like a book called The Artist's Way. By Julia Cameron. Is that right? Julia Cameron. And it's, you know, I like writing. That's where I got it from.
Yeah. So
I want to stop there, and then I want to move on to maybe one more hurdle, because and then like I want to hear Suraj's inputs on that. Is that okay? Like,
yeah,
you want to add anything to that actually?
No, that was great.
Yeah.
Listeners, listen to what Bharat had to say here.
I'm sorry, actually, I'm spilling my own wisdom here and there actually. Hope actually that's useful.
That is great. That's absolutely great. I really love you sharing that because it's raw, and I think there's tremendous value for people to hear different scenarios. They might be thinking that it's helpful for them to know, oh yeah, that's validating.
Yeah.
So tremendous value in you sharing. So thank you for doing that. Yeah.